Should you buy a home in today's real estate market? When was the last time you thought about buying something but weren't sure if you should? Did you have any warning signs firing off in your mind like the 1st of July, or did you just dive in head first only to later regret the decision you just made? Okay, I can't speak for you, but I have a confession to make. I have committed the sin of diving in without thinking things through, like when I bought these boots. I still don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I was having a midlife crisis or something. I am not really sure. So if you have any warning signs firing off in your head, like the 1st of July, about should you buy a house in today's market, that's okay. In fact, it's a good thing. It will help you think things through as you move forward. Obviously, buying a home is much different than buying boots, but the result can be the same if you don't think through your decision. It can lead to buyer remorse, also known as regret. Like this post from Global News that a wave of buyer's remorse is taking shape as house prices drop and the number of sales slowed down in 2022. Buyers are looking at the crisis and they feel they overpaid, but coming out of a contract is not that simple. The article is quoting a lawyer in Toronto saying that he has seen buyers agree to let go of the deposit if the seller mutually agree to end the deal. But it's not just the deposit the buyers lose, they may end up paying much more than that. The second most common regret was rushing the home buying process, especially in 2021 through early 2022. You could blink your eye one moment and you see a new listing, and if you blinked again, it was already under contract. It was insanity. Buyers who took the time to form a winning game plan with their agents were the ones that didn't have the buyer's remorse. So, what can we learn from this? It's probably a better decision to learn and consider your options before making a major life decision. That being said, most people want to make wise decisions that are right for them, but their medium of research, i.e., Google, gives them mixed signals. You'll see headlines like worst time to buy a house in 30 years. 16 reasons right now could be the worst time ever to buy a house. But is it really the worst time? I mean, seriously, the only one that really knows the answer to that question is you. Your voice is the only voice that matters. I'll give you an example. This post on Reddit, just because it's the worst time to buy a house in decades doesn't mean that it can't get worse, right? This post ignited the firestorm of statements. Before we get into the comments, this post itself gives a great example of why your voice is the only voice that matters. This particular poster is financially and motivationally ready, but is afraid to pull the plug because of the media. There are lots of comments, but these two I particularly loved. The best time to buy is when you can afford it. Now, tomorrow, or 10 years, doesn't matter. You need to be financially ready to purchase, and only you would know the answer to that. The other comment I loved was this one. People were saying stuff like this in 2020 to 2021. Look where they are now. Will the market drop? Probably. But I can tell you, I have multiple friends who could afford a house, were told to wait a year or two for the prices to come down, and now they are priced out of the type of home they want with tripled mortgage rates. Prices are still going up in my area and my parents' area. The waiting game is fine, but everyone seems to think that they will only be waiting a couple of years when that quite likely won't be the reality. The reason why I love this comment is because this person is bang on. You cannot time the market. People who bought even in the peak market have made some equity in the last year. Yes, comparatively low, but they still have some equity. The equity people built from 2020 to 2022 was insanity. That's not normal. Normally, the return on investment on real estate is anywhere between 3 to 5%. It's not a get rich quick scheme, guys. 3 to 5% is definitely better than the person who's still waiting to buy. While you're waiting for the prices to come down, prices keep going up and you're either priced out or you now have to save again for more down payment. A lose-lose situation, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, you need to focus on the most important voice, which is yours. I will share with you 3 questions that can be very insightful. Most people go wrong by trying to time the real estate market instead of timing where they are in their life. The goal is deciding if now is the right time to buy a house for you or not. It really comes down to these 3 questions. Question number 1, if everything goes your way, how long do you plan on living in the house? Some people might say forever, some may say 2 to 3 years, some may say 10 years, and some might not even know the answer to that question. And all of those questions are fine. But a study by the Canadian Association of Accredited Mortgage Professionals estimates the average Canadian will own 4.5 to 5.5 homes in their lifetime. They found that around 620,000 Canadian families will move into a new home each year. Of those Canadians, 45% are first-time home buyers between the ages of 25 to 34. However, first-time home buyers are still joining the club from ages 45 to 64. Therefore, if you were to buy your first property at age 25 and stop buying it at age 65, the average Canadian who owns 4.5 to 5.5 properties over the lifespan could move every 7 years. Now, because real estate is cyclical in nature, historically, real estate typically appreciates over time. The longer you own a home, the more likely you are to ride out the ups and downs of the real estate market. And it's more likely that it will be worth more than the price that you first paid. Many people thought the housing market would collapse in 2020, so they didn't buy a home at that time, even though they could. But as we now know, the housing market didn't collapse in 2020, and people that purchased a home back then are now sitting on over 40 plus in home equity, even at today's home market. So knowing how long you want to live in your home will help you gain perspective and guide you when the time is right for you. Question number 2, are you financially prepared to buy a house? Key considerations include credit score, your savings for your down payment, your closing costs, your property tax, your general maintenance of the house. Please, please, please remember to plan for your home maintenance after you close. For reference, a good rule of thumb is to save 1% of the value of your home every year for maintenance. In many cases, you might not need that much money to maintain your home. However, it is a good practice to save up a maintenance budget just in case something big pops up that needs to be fixed, like roof repairs, or from my personal experience, replacing your furnace. And I could tell you that it is very costly to replace, and especially when you're in the dead of winter and it's kind of urgent. It's far better to save the funds over time in case it's needed versus needing it and not having the funds. Question number 3, is now the right time for you and your life to buy a house, or should you continue renting? Let's be honest. Sometimes renting is a better option for people, especially if they plan on moving to another city in less than 3 years. If they continue to change jobs one after the other, they're not stable. Or if they're simply not ready to own a home. Yes, it's okay. Not everybody is ready to own a home. It's easier to get out of a rental than it is to sell a house. A key consideration here is to factor in how much you pay a monthly rent for the time that you might be thinking of sitting out of the housing market versus what you might pay if you decide to buy a house, let's say. There's always an opportunity cost in one form or another. In real estate and with all life decisions, time is the one thing that we can never get back. The risk of not considering decisions upfront is regret. When we don't think things through, we become prone to making emotional, hasty decisions, and we all know haste makes waste. So don't waste your time or money doing what someone else wants you to do in haste. Do what feels right for you. At the end of the day, there is an opportunity to buy or sell homes in any housing market. It's a matter of seeing where the opportunity exists and deciding if it's the right time for you. I'm going to tell you, it's very easy to get confused with the multitude of negative headlines and the daily onslaught of spam calls and emails that we get. We need some good old-fashioned honesty, not people trying to corrupt our thoughts or to sell us something so frequently that our heads spin. Instead, we should focus on what's important to us. Take the time to learn and gain clarity, and you will never let yourself down. If you feel the time is right for you to buy a home, or if you just want to be prepared when the time comes, then your next step is to learn how to buy a house and what the home buying process looks like. You can do that by clicking right here afterwards. You'll be much better prepared for the next steps that are ahead of you. I'm excited for you, and I look forward to continuing our journey together. Until next time, I'll see you around town.